Hi, I'm Jonathan Guillotte-Blouin, desktop Firefox engineering intern this summer, and today I will talk to you about what I did to facilitate Firefox day-to-day usage. So first of all, who am I? I'm a rising senior, so a fourth-year student at the University of Ottawa in Canada. I'm majoring in computer science and probably going to do a master's next year. My interests are in web development, whether it's front-end or back-end. I'm interested also in Internet of Things, Web of Things, kind of stuff, and automation, and anything tech-related, honestly. So this summer, my summer has been mostly twofold. So the first part was working with form autofill and form history, and the second part has been working with WebPayments, which is a follow-up to request autocomplete. And I mentioned request autocomplete because actually one of the first things I did in my first week was to actually remove request autocomplete from Firefox. So it all started with that. So overall, in my first week, I got minus 2,000 lines. So that was my positive contribution to Firefox to start with. So on a more serious note, the first big project I worked on was form autofill and form history. So to understand what both are, it's two different projects with separate storage. And they fill different goals. So form autofill, as it says, it creates profile out of previous uses based on types of field and heuristics. So what this means is that when you submit a form and you submit it, and the form autofill will look at the form as a whole, a unit, and it will store it as a unit. So it will remember that you've submitted your name, your last name, and your email, so all in one package. And form history is different. It's really field by field, so it will only remember that for a certain ID or name attribute, these are all the values you've used. The other important aspect with autofill is that it uses heuristics. So I just mentioned that form history uses the name or the ID of a field. Autofill also uses heuristics, what it means is that it's going to do guesses also. It's a little bit more intelligent. And so you can see the difference, yeah. So what I did with that project, first I had to remove some logic which was in the SQL queries and remove and port it to the JavaScript. The main part of the project though was to inject autofill storage into the form history results. So some cases form autofill will not run. There are many edge cases, and when that's the case, we want form history to take over. So, but just because form autofill doesn't run doesn't mean it doesn't have any valuable information that we would like. So in that case, what we wanted to do is first use the form history storage, and then ask the form autofill, hey, do you have information for that type of value? We would need that. And then we mix both results, and we dedupe them, and we give them as the suggestions. So what this looks like is, as you can see here, that's the form autofill, and the third field presently doesn't have any autofill. But in that case, the form history is going to run. But if we modify the storage, the profile here, and I put some garbage email just there, then if we go back to that same field, you now see that the email is part of the form history even if we never used it previously. So now it's part of that. So that was the part of the project. Now the second part, the second project I worked on was WebPayments. And WebPayments is a new web standard. It's really in progress, as you can see. The last working draft dates from last Thursday, so it's really in progress. And basically what the goal of this is, You can imagine when you go on Amazon or other e-commerce sites, you add stuff in your cart, and the last step is to click buy or something, and then you put your information, your address, credit card information. So WebPayments want to ease the end of that process. So what will happen is when you click buy, it will show that dialog that you can see on the screen, and it's gonna simplify, like it's gonna fetch the autofill. So maybe, oh, we have some address of the user, we can already put it there, so you can select which address you want to use. So it's gonna help both the user and the developer, the merchant in that case. So there's two main components in that web payments project. There's the DOM API, which is more the core C++, getting the states and following the specs. But the second part, very important as well, is the UI. You want to show something to the user and in the end. So the DOM API is already built, but the UI is not, and this is where I started just a few weeks ago trying to make an MVP, a first version with more the core aspect of what we want to do. So this is what it looks like presently. It's really, really bare bones, but at least it works. So yeah. Now, some things I've learned from this summer at Mozilla. First thing, how to use Mercurial and Bugzilla. Two aspects I've never used before. I was more used to Git and GitHub, so that was the first time. As well, how Firefox propagates calls between JavaScript and C++. So you can imagine a browser is the top layer, higher level, is more JavaScript, and the lower level is C++ because you want performance. So I learned how both languages can integrate and communicate with, as I mentioned, interfaces or manifest files to describe how it works. Another thing is the modules and how the different processes, especially with ETNS, the multi-process Firefox, how they can communicate and separate the logic. And on a more light note, the Firefox Chrome, I've heard that many times when I started. I was like, why are we talking about Chrome here? Firefox Chrome has nothing to do with the browser Chrome. Also, the NS prefix in many files, as you can see, those are some files in the Form History project. They start with NS. I actually learned that it's from the Netscape era. You can imagine NS, Netscape. So that's it. I want to thank everyone that helped me and was with me this whole summer. First, my mentor, Mathieu Norenberg, was very important, guiding me through everything and asking all the questions, and there were lots of questions you can imagine during a whole summer. Justin Dolsky, my manager. Also Kit Cambridge, who's helped me with many autofill questions and Mercurial and just questions in general. Marcos and Eden for helping me with WebPayments. I want also to mention the two teams, so my team for Form Autofill and the one from WebPayments, both based in Taiwan. And finally, Nicole and Tara from the university team for everything you've done for us this summer and the great recruiting process. That's it. Thanks. If you have questions or